Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Week 11 in the NFL, kicking off with Thursday Night Football. Got the Commanders in Philadelphia taking on those Eagles. I've got 7 player prop projections to help you make those bets here on Thursday night. Quick look at the record, feeling pretty good, especially the last couple Thursday nights in the NFL. 4-0, the last 2 TNFs. Week 10 there as a whole between Sunday and Thursday had a really good showing. 6-1 there, as you can see, between the two combined. Not as good on Monday Night Football there. 0-3, but not as many full unit plays, just a little sprinkle here and there. Wasn't as confident in that game, and it was a poo-poo one. So we're going to keep rolling along here with those player prop projections and best bets I've got. If that all sounds good, go ahead and give that video a like. Let's get right into it. As we get into this Commanders offense, quick reminder that if you don't want to miss a single bet that I'm actually laying down, go ahead and check out the description of the video. Got the link to the WAP.com account in there. You can jump into the VIP Discord. Do have a little discount going for the NBA season pass now that we're in full swing in the NBA. You can go ahead and skip that monthly subscription fee and just go ahead and get 40% off for the upfront stuff if you want to get into the VIP Discord. But looking at this Commanders offense, this has to be considered the most surprising offense in the league this season. You look at the way that they're throwing the ball, obviously incredible and probably more surprising than even the way they're running the ball, because coming into the season, we probably had a pretty good idea that Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, and the very, very fast collegiate quarterback, Jayden Daniels, were going to have some success running the ball. We didn't know they were going to be second in pass EPA and have the 11th most passing yards in the league right now. That was completely unexpected. And the rushing yards coming right along. 4th in rushing yards, number 1 in rush EPA. You know, if you have a quarterback as dangerous as Jayden Daniels, it's going to equate to one of the best rush offenses in the league. That's just the way that the modern NFL works. You look at, obviously, Lamar Jackson, a big reason for the Ravens being as good as they are at running the ball. Of course, running and passing the ball starts and ends with a good offensive line. And this offensive line is 4th in adjusted yards before contact, giving a lot of room for its running game to get going. And it's 9th in limiting pressure on Jayden Daniels, who does a good job of escaping pressure no matter what. But the fact of the matter is, you've got a fast quarterback with a very strong pass blocking and run blocking line in front of him. As for this Eagles defense, I don't know if people are aware, but this is the best defense in the NFL according to EPA per play. They've been that since week 3 in the NFL. They've spent the last basically 7 weeks of the season being the best defense in the league efficiency-wise. 3rd in passing yards allowed, 6th in pass EPA. The metrics just match up. 5th in rushing yards, 7th in rush EPA. The interesting thing about the Eagles is they're not getting much pressure on the quarterback at all. They are 27th in pressure percentage and 24th to 27th, depends. There's some discrepancy there, but they're 21st in adjusted yards before contact. So despite allowing just the 5th most rushing yards, they're not getting that much push into the backfield. It's just a lot of containment for this team. They're not even really getting too much pressure on the quarterback to force the ball out early. They've just got really good defensive secondary that we were all kind of making fun of in the first few weeks, and they certainly figured things out here over the course of the last 7. As we jump into the Eagles offense, one more quick reminder, we've got the live show every single day, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, looking at NBA bets, but on Mondays and Thursdays, also looking at the NFL. So come in there, bring your bets, jump in the comments. We go through all that stuff together, and I show you the tools that I'm using to help you make the bets that you want to make as well. So 5:30 p.m. Eastern, make sure to hope to see you in there. Looking at this Eagles offense, though, really good rush offense right now. Passing, take it or leave it, but I will say they've got their guys back. At least they've got A.J. Brown back. Goddard and Devonta Smith both look kind of banged up for this game. I do think they're going to play, but how healthy they're both going to be, I don't know. And that's really what I'm attributing this passing yards and pass EPA that could be a lot better for this team to not being that good, but really middle of the pack, because they just haven't had their weapons. With A.J. Brown playing 6 of the games this season, Devonta Smith missing 3 of them as well and leaving a couple early. So the pass offense is good. It's very good. It's just not actually as good as this rush offense. And again, start with the offensive line. The rush offense for this team, the rush blocking, I should say, 2nd in adjusted yards before contact. So they're pushing forward. They're getting Saquon a ton of room. Not that he needs it, but they're giving it to him. So that's going to be why you've got such an effective rush offense against a very bad rush defense. As you can see, 4th worst in terms of allowing yards, and the rush EPA 5th worst in the league. So all the underlying metrics match the sort of terrible overlying metrics for this Washington defense and the yardage that it's giving up. I think they're going to give up yardage in both places, passing and rushing. But this is going to be a game where I'm probably going to be targeting Saquon Barkley and this rush offense for the Eagles. Let's kick it off with the surprisingly amazing rook. I mean, I think we all thought Jayden Daniels was going to be good, obviously 2nd overall pick. But this good, I don't know if you could have predicted that. Thing is, I do think this Philly pass defense is elite. It's even better than its rush defense, which is very good. But those corners, man, and the safeties, they've just really completely locked up number one wide receivers, slot wide receivers, really doesn't matter. They've over exceeded, in my opinion, definitely, and shown us that there should have been considered a much better defense last year. They just didn't perform. Now you're talking about a team that in the last 6 games has allowed 139 passing yards per game. You can say that they played some poo-poo competition, but still played Baker Mayfield in there. Daniel Jones, say what you want. Sean Watson, not a great quarterback, but there's a couple of decent ones in there as well. That I would still say it's very impressive what the Eagles defense has done regardless of competition. Darius Slay is questionable, so that's why it's a strong lean to go on a fade here of Jayden Daniels passing yards. But I want to see if Darius Slay is healthy or at least healthy enough to even play. If he is out there, how healthy will he be? But that's going to be crucial for slowing down Terry McLaurin, who is really the reason that Jayden Daniels gets his yardage through the air. Is a lot of realized air yards that end up in Terry McLaurin's hands. Even if he doesn't get that many receptions, he gets a ton of yards. And if he's not able to get those yards because Darius Slay is acting like the Pro Bowl cornerback he's played like this season, then that would impact Jayden Daniels too much so for him to be able to get over his passing yards in this one. The Commanders' backfield, will it have Brian Robinson Jr.? I'm going to guess, yeah. He was originally looking like he was going to play last week against the Steelers. Then he was a late scratch and didn't even get into the game time decision part. He was just scratched before Sunday even came around. And I think it was in part because they were looking ahead to this game and saying, we would love for him to play against Philly in a divisional matchup for first place in the division. That's where we'd rather have Brian Robinson Jr. than against this Steelers team. Thing is the Steelers rush defense is actually not even as good as the Philly rush defense right now. And so anybody running between the tackles against this team isn't someone that I would expect to have as much success. Eckler is a guy to target, though. He's obviously running outside the tackles, and he's not much better in the pass game. I really have a lot of respect for B-Rob's passing receptions and his ability to come out of the backfield as a receiver. That said, it's Austin Eckler, who we know has been one of the best receivers out of the backfield basically for his whole career. So I think he's a good play for receiving yards regardless of whether or not B-Rob plays. But without B-Rob, I think Eckler is going to be good for rushing and receiving, and especially the receiving. So that's what I'd be targeting for him as soon as we get those props out, once we know a little bit more about B-Rob's status. With scary Terry McLaurin, I don't really like Daniels' yards, and I want to see about Darius Slay. You probably know I don't love Terry McLaurin's yards in this one. There's a couple other things we should mention here about the offense for Washington. They're playing at the 9th slowest pace, and they have been a running team predominantly. And Philly has been a team that has seen a lot more rushes against it than passes. Because this pass defense is so good, teams have resorted to trying to run on it, which is what I would imagine the Commanders would prefer to do, is try to run on this offense with their offense to at least try to open up the deep passes. But if they don't, then obviously they're not going to have to, the Eagles are going to be able to double Terry, bracket him a little bit more, and realize that if you shut him down, this offense is a lot less dynamic, right? It's a lot more anemic, slow-footed, and that's where they really need to turn to the run game to set up the pass game specifically to Terry. If they don't have the run game, which I don't expect they will, and Darius Slay is out there, which I'm hoping that he is, then we're looking at some unders in the passing game for this Commanders squad. Other side of the ball, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. I'm still getting minus 105. This man has 8 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks, scoring in all 4 of them, right? He's now got 10 rushing TDs on the season in 10 weeks. And last year he had 15. So there's no reason to think that he's going to slow down now. And he should still be good for another 5 to 6 throughout the rest of this season in the 6 to 7 games they have left. So I'm going to keep backing that at around even money. Feels like a pretty strong bet. Washington allowing the 16th, they're 16th in terms of rushing TDs allowed. Not as many to the rushing quarterbacks, but haven't played as many rushing quarterbacks. Obviously, Lamar was in there. They give bad rush offense to anybody, though. 4th most rushing yards allowed, 10th most to QBs. So if Hurts doesn't even necessarily need the tush push, doesn't need to be at the 2 or the 1 in order to get his rushing touchdown, he might be able to score from anywhere inside the 20 or so. Well, as bad as this Commanders' pass defense is, I think we got to go ahead and just say their rush defense is worse. 28th in rushing yards allowed. The last 3 has been particularly abysmal. 167 rushing yards allowed by this Commanders squad in the last 3. And I wouldn't exactly call the teams they were going up against the top tier level rush offenses, with the Giants, the Bears, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, all 3 bottom half in terms of rushing offense through EPA and rushing success rate. So not really any good offenses that are coming their way in the run game. And still they were able to have I would say more than a ton of success with those 167 rushing yards per game. And it's really the yards per attempt, right? Like even if Saquon gets bottled up a couple times, which I don't even know how that would happen, but if he gets bottled up a couple times and has to turn, a 2-yard gain into a 5-yard gain, we call that sort of an underwhelming play for him because he's averaging 5.8 yards per attempt. So I guess 5 yards would be underwhelming for Saquon. The Commanders are still allowing the third highest yards per attempt. They've given up. They're in the bottom 10 in terms of allowing 20-plus yard rushes. We know what Saquon is capable in getting those 20-yard rushes. You're looking at probably the most likely to break away kind of running back and see just down the sideline when you're turning on red zone, and all of a sudden Saquon Barkley is just in the field alone on the screen, right? So I think we're going to see a couple of those in this one. I would take him for the 100 yards rushing. However you want to play this is for sure an over for me. Well, I guess we're going a lot of overs here for the Eagles, and I guess we're starting to say that I like the Eagles to win this game as well, because I also think A.J. Brown's going to have a big day. But I'm also calling out the 3 players that I think are going to have the biggest days, and they happen to be the 3 best offensive players for the Eagles in Hurts and Saquon and now A.J. Brown. But A.J. Brown's going to be out there as the healthiest wide receiver for this Eagles squad, which has not been the case for the majority of the season, as we know. But Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert both banged up a little bit. Maybe we see some Jahan Dotson in a little bit of a revenge spot for him against his old team in the Commanders. Regardless, it's going to be A.J. Brown's day. I like him for the tutty as long as you get about plus 130 or better. And I like him for the receiving yards to get about 100 in this game, coming off a nice 109-yard day against the boys. He's got 5 of 6 games this season where he's gotten at least 84 yards, which is right about where most books have his prop right now as I record this on Wednesday night. And again, as bad as this team is on offense, the Commanders are against the pass, they're worse against the run, but they're also super bad against the pass. So you get whatever you want. They brought in Marshawn Lattimore. He's probably still hurt, though. It looks like his hamstring is going to at least make him not full strength. I don't know why you would play him on a bum hammy when you just got him, if you want to have him for the end of the season and that run that you're making towards the playoffs. So I don't know if it's worth it in this game. I get that it's a divisional game, but I can't see Lattimore overextending that hamstring and trying too hard and risking injury when they're going to need him down the stretch of this season. One last reminder for y'all, outlier.bet. It is the best tool around, one-stop shop to get everything you need when you're making these bets and finding the best value possible. I use that on the live show every day, 5:30 p.m. Eastern, so you can come see how I use it, get some tips and some help with it. But I got a link to it in the description of the video for a free 7-day trial. Highly recommend just using that out. Doesn't help me, just want to give it to you guys because I got a partnership with them. So if you want to see how it works for you, get the 7 free days, try it out while you're making bets, and then you can see if it's worth it for you for the monthly subscription. But that's all the time I have for you guys. Hope to see you on that live show, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Until I see y'all next, happy betting.